Look at Mia Chen. She is running on almost no sleep, working 11-hour shifts, flipping greasy burgers, and pouring burnt coffee for spare change. That is the grind of a single mother, taking every hit life throws at you, then smiling so your child never sees how badly it hurts. It is nearly midnight, and she is cutting through the rough back alleys of South Brooklyn. She knows this shortcut is dangerous, but her little girl, Emma, is home alone. Her feet ache. Her uniform smells like oil, and all she can think about is getting back before Emma wakes up scared. Her worn-out sneakers slap against the wet pavement when a child's scream cuts through the alley. Most people would keep moving. Survival tells you not to get involved, but Mia stops. Around the corner, 3 masked men are dragging a terrified boy toward a black van. The child fights with everything he has, begging them to call his father and promising money if they let him go. One man clamps a hand over his mouth. Mia's heart pounds so hard it hurts. Then she sees a broken bottle near the trash cans. She picks it up before fear can talk her out of it. Mia steps into the open and shouts for them to let the boy go. Her voice shakes, but it is loud enough to make them turn. She throws the bottle. Glass explodes against the van, and the boy uses that single second to bite the kidnapper's arm. He breaks free and runs straight into Mia, grabbing her waist like she is the last safe thing left in the world. She pulls him behind her and promises he will be okay. Even though she has no weapon, no plan, and no backup, the men close in. One notices her cheap diner uniform and laughs that the waitress just signed her own death warrant. Before the alley turns bloody, blinding headlights flood the narrow street. 2 black SUVs block the exit, and men in dark suits step out with the cold precision of people used to violence. Everything goes still when the mob boss appears. He carries wealth, power, and menace like they are stitched into his skin. Then he sees the boy clinging to Mia. His hard expression cracks for half a second. He calls the child's name, and the voice that comes out is not a kingpin's voice. It is a father's. The boy hesitates, takes Mia's hand, and tells him she saved his life. The Don's voice drops low as he gives the kidnappers until sunrise to disappear from the earth. Then he falls to his knees and pulls his son into his arms. For one brief moment, the feared syndicate boss is gone. Then the mask returns. He stands and turns those cold eyes on Mia. She stammers, trying to explain herself, terrified and confused. He repeats her name, studying her as if he has already started taking her apart in his mind. When he mentions the diner where she works without her ever telling him, her stomach drops. Her one good deed has not ended the nightmare. It has opened the door to a much larger one. He had simply read the name tag on her uniform, but that tiny detail is enough to tie her ordinary life to his criminal empire. Mia trembles, begging to go home, while the little boy keeps holding on to her and insists she is safe. The mob boss studies her worn coat, her tired eyes, and the fear she is trying to hide. With one small motion, he orders his men to find out everything about her. He tells her she has done him a great favor, but saving his bloodline means dangerous people may now know her face. Mia looks back toward the street, suddenly aware that the life she is trying to return to may already be gone. He lays down the rules like a judge handing out a sentence. No running, no police, but a mother's fear does not obey orders. And Mia blurts out that her daughter is home alone. The moment she mentions Emma, something shifts in the Don's face, not softness exactly, but recognition. He orders his top man to secure her apartment building. Mia's reckless act has earned his respect, but it has also placed a target on her back. She can still feel the boy's fingers gripping her hand a few minutes ago. She was a tired waitress trying to get home. Now armed men are speaking about her life as if it belongs to them. A silent Mafia guard follows Mia home and plants himself outside her building like a stone statue. Inside, Mia locks every deadbolt with shaking hands. Emma is asleep on the couch, one small arm tucked under her cheek. Mia pulls her close and holds her too tightly, breathing in the smell of shampoo and crayons. She spends the rest of the night staring through the blinds, watching the guard below and wondering whether he is there to protect her or keep her trapped. By sunrise, 2 mobsters in expensive suits knock on her door and calmly tell her that her waitressing days are over. Mia is pulled out of her run-down life and driven toward a guarded estate that looks more like a fortress than a home. The ride is silent except for the hum of the engine and Emma's sleepy breathing beside her. Every gate they pass makes Mia feel further from the world she knows. The mansion does not feel safe. It feels like fear built out of stone and money. In his dark office, the Don demands that she retell the kidnapping, asking whether she is brave or simply reckless. Beneath his control, Mia senses something raw. This is a man who owns everything around him, yet still looks terrified of losing the one thing that matters. As Mia struggles through the story, the Don watches her like a shark deciding whether to strike. He says, coincidences do not exist in his world. To him, even an exhausted waitress could be a trained assassin, if the timing is too perfect. That is what years of betrayal have done to him. Genuine kindness looks suspicious because he has forgotten what it feels like. Then Mia finally snaps. She throws the truth in his face. The endless shifts, the rent, her child, the life he knows nothing about. For a moment his tough mask cracks. He does not apologize. But he stops looking at her like an enemy. The tension breaks when little Luca barges in. He is the only untouched thing in that dark room, small and pale in his oversized sweater. When he says Mia reminds him of his missing mother, the silence turns heavy. The Don's jaw tightens. His wife is the ghost haunting every corner of this house. In wars like his, children are the ones left carrying wounds they never caused. He snaps at Luca to leave, hiding guilt behind authority, then immediately reaches for the whiskey on his desk. Mia sees the truth before he can bury it. This empire has not made him safe. It has only given his fear more expensive walls. The Don drinks as if the whiskey can burn the fear out of him. He admits his wife ran from the Mafia life and left him alone with their son. But when he says Luca has finally trusted a stranger after 3 silent years, he does not sound grateful. He sounds alarmed. In his world, anything precious must be guarded, bought or destroyed before someone else can use it. He looks at Mia not as the woman who saved his child, but as a dangerous flaw in his system. That is the sad logic of men who live by suspicion. They mistake connection for weakness until they are completely alone. Mia begs to keep her daughter safe, but she runs into a wall of cold control. Adrian, the mob boss, has already sent armed men to pick Emma up from school. He dismisses Mia's panic as if it is an inconvenience. He says she is not a prisoner, but every choice has already been made for her. Sitting in a velvet room larger than her entire apartment, the brutal irony lands hard. She only wanted to save a little boy, and now she has lost control of her own life. She has gone from worrying about rent to sitting in a gilded cage, surrounded by men who call it protection. Mia eats the expensive pastries with the hunger of a woman who has skipped too many meals. For a moment, comfort almost fools her. Then harsh voices echo from the hall. Vincent enters, a silver-haired enforcer who carries the old rules of the Mafia in every step. He refuses to believe Mia is simply a woman who did the right thing. To him, every good deed hides a motive. He calls her a spy, even though Adrian points out that her record is clean. Vincent keeps pushing because suspicion is the only language he trusts. Mia lowers the pastry slowly, suddenly ashamed of being hungry in front of men who already think poverty is a weakness. Vincent tears into Mia's life, twisting her struggle into evidence against her. Her low profile as a working-class mother, he says, makes her the perfect undercover weapon. Then he suggests taking her to the basement, and everyone understands the threat beneath those words. Adrian stops him with one cold command, not because he fully trusts Mia, but because Luca does. The little boy has spent his life surrounded by danger, yet he ran to Mia without hesitation. That kind of trust unsettles even a room full of killers. Mia holds her breath as Adrian's men look at her again, not as innocent, but as a problem their boss has chosen not to solve. Vincent backs down, but only enough to keep his job. He orders surveillance on her every move. His dead eyes look through Mia, as if she is nothing but a file waiting to be opened. Calling himself the syndicate strategist, he circles her like a shark. He mocks her minimum wage jobs and treats her desperate effort to survive as if it were a cover story. Adrian stands by the fireplace, silent, watching the interrogation unfold. Mia feels anger rising under the fear. She has cleaned tables with a fever, skipped meals for school fees, smiled at men who called her sweetheart for $1 tip. None of that is shameful, no matter how Vincent says it. This is how ordinary people get pulled into nightmares. Mia's only crime was taking a shortcut home after work. Now Vincent is questioning her about a mobster named Salvatore Benetti. To an exhausted mother, saving 15 minutes matters. But in this paranoid world, coincidence looks like treason. Vincent shoves a tablet in her face, showing photos of her serving coffee to known mobsters at the diner. Her stomach sinks. She remembers the men only as customers who wanted black coffee and did not tip. She had no idea she had been pouring drinks in the middle of a syndicate war. Mia defends herself with the facts. She pours coffee and collects tips. She does not run background checks on customers. But Vincent twists her normal life into something sinister, saying her plainness makes her the perfect spy. Adrian finally steps in and says proximity is not proof. The room tightens with silence. Then Luca rushes in, crying so hard he can barely breathe. He runs straight to Mia, not to the guards and not even to his father, and begs Adrian not to hurt her. The contrast cuts through everyone in the room. The adults see a threat because fear has trained them to. The child sees the woman who saved him. In a rare moment, the feared crime boss kneels to his son's level. The weight of the Mafia falls away, leaving only a worried father who does not know how to comfort his own child. After sending everyone out, Adrian pours himself whiskey and admits the last woman Luca trusted was his mother, who left them for money. The wound is still open. Now Adrian is pushing that betrayal onto Mia, keeping her under watch until he can decide whether she is real. He promises to keep her safe. But his version of safety comes with locked doors, armed guards, and no permission to leave. Vincent's threat still hangs in the room, reminding Mia that this luxury prison is dangerous. Then Emma arrives, completely unaware of the world she has entered. To her, the guarded estate looks like a castle. When Adrian comes in, his frightening aura softens. He crouches to thank her, and Emma tells him he is scary but has a pretty house. The honesty catches him off guard for half a second. He almost smiles. Emma does not see a syndicate leader or a man with blood on his hands. She sees a tall stranger with nice furniture and tired eyes. Mia watches him watch her daughter, and something in the room loosens. Emma and Luca connect almost instantly. They run upstairs to play, laughing as if the armed men outside do not exist. Adrian watches them with quiet grief, mourning the normal childhood his son never had. Mia presses him for answers, her instincts as a mother pushing against his need for control. Then the fragile peace breaks. Vincent bursts in with news. They caught one of the kidnappers. In an instant, Adrian changes. The gentle father disappears, and the cold ruler of a criminal empire returns. He orders Mia to follow him. She looks toward the stairs, where the children are laughing, and understands how quickly darkness can reach any room in this house. Adrian takes Mia into a basement that smells of rust and fear. This is the real face of his empire. A beaten kidnapper sits beneath a single light bulb, trying to look defiant until Adrian walks in. The man's courage drains out of him. Adrian does not shout. His voice stays quiet and almost conversational, which makes him more frightening. The kidnapper admits that rival boss Salvatore Benetti planned the attack, but not only for money. Salvatore wants Adrian's family name broken in public. He says the old man still blames Adrian for stealing the throne his father once promised him. The violence comes fast and ugly. Adrian strikes him, demanding to know how Salvatore found his son's location. Vincent delivers the cold answer. There is a rat inside their circle. Then Adrian shoves a photo of Mia in the man's face. The kidnapper recognizes her and confirms that Salvatore had been watching the diner long before the alley. Mia feels the floor drop beneath her. She thinks of every late shift, every strange customer, every time she walked home alone, believing poverty made her invisible. Then Adrian's phone buzzes with a message from Salvatore. The shadows around her were never new. She had simply never seen them clearly before. The video shows Salvatore Benetti drinking expensive wine, polished and calm, hiding a rotten heart behind elegance. With a chilling smile, he offers a bargain. Hand over Mia by midnight, and the feud ends. Refuse and Emma may suffer a tragic accident during school recess. Mia's vision narrows. Her little girl has become a pawn. Adrian explodes, his voice turning into a low growl as he vows revenge. Vincent warns him that it is an obvious trap meant to make him act recklessly. Salvatore does not raise his voice. He does not need to. He knows a mother's fear will echo louder than any threat. Adrian's famous control breaks. Mia is terrified and believes she has to surrender if it will keep her daughter alive. But Adrian grips her shoulders and forces her to listen. He explains the cruelty behind Salvatore's move. This is not only about Mia. Salvatore wants to destroy Adrian in Luca's eyes. Mia thinks it sounds like Mafia pride until Adrian drops the mask. Luca has spent 3 years believing everyone he loves will leave him. If Mia disappears now, the last fragile piece of his trust may break. Mia looks at Adrian, then toward the ceiling where the children are playing. And for the first time, running does not feel simple. Mia has broken the unspoken rule of the underworld by staying when she should have run. She looked past the terrifying mob boss and saw a father afraid his child would lose hope. But as Vincent calls for war, a painful contradiction takes shape. To keep his family safe, Adrian must become the very nightmare he tries to hide from his son. He orders his men to gather every soldier. When Mia demands the right to choose for herself, Adrian shuts her down, saying that in his kingdom, pawns are protected while kings are slaughtered. As night falls, Mia understands why his protection feels so much like captivity. Mia's new room is enormous, beautiful, and completely trapped. Armed guards stand outside, turning silk sheets and marble floors into a cage. She checks her phone and finds 17 missed calls from her brother. Ethan, he is 23, drowning in debt, and always one bad choice away from disaster. Usually his calls mean he needs money. But tonight the fear feels different, knowing Salvatore is hunting her. Mia calls him back. Ethan's voice shakes as he claims he went to Emma's school to drop off an early gift. The lie is painfully weak. He can barely remember birthdays. Mia sits up slowly, already afraid of what he is hiding. Family can blind us to warning signs we would never forgive in anyone else. When Ethan begs to meet, every instinct in Mia tells her to hang up, but he is her brother, and his voice sounds broken. He admits he has made her situation worse, and Mia goes cold. Despite the heavy security around her, she agrees to meet him at 2 in the afternoon. Escaping Adrian's estate is not easy, but Ethan sends a stolen delivery route, and one of the newer guards mistakes her for staff returning to the service entrance. Adrian's men are watching for outside threats. They never consider that Mia might walk out for family. Mia slips out, trading the polished safety of the mansion for the grit of the city. She finds Ethan in a diner, restless and twitchy, like a man trapped inside his own skin. Then he drops the truth. He owes $47,000. The weight of his gambling addiction lands between them. He is in deep with men who collect debts through broken bones. His excuse is painfully familiar. He thought he had a system, thought he could win it all back, thought one more bet would fix what the last bet ruined. Mia stares at him, exhausted by a disaster she has seen coming for years. The psychological war does not begin with bullets. It begins with kindness that has a hook hidden inside. Mia offers to pick up extra shifts, desperate to help. But Ethan says the debt is already gone. Someone paid it in full. An older man with silver hair. Salvatore. The name turns the air cold. Ethan, hungry for approval and a father figure, was easy to buy with a warm lunch and false respect. Salvatore listened, smiled, and quietly pulled information about Mia out of him. Ethan keeps saying he did not mean to hurt her. That only makes it worse. Carelessness can destroy a family just as fast as malice. This is where the story becomes something darker. Ethan admits that Salvatore offered him a fortune to act as an informant, dressing it up as a way to protect Mia. The cruelty is careful. The man hunting her is pretending to be the family's savior. Ethan swears he refused the bribe. But the Mafia does not accept no easily. Shaking, he slides a crisp envelope across the table. Someone pushed it under his door at dawn. Mia does not touch it at first. She already knows it will not contain mercy. Around them, the diner keeps humming, plates clinking and coffee pouring, while her whole life tightens into a trap. Inside the envelope is a photo of Mia leaving the guarded mansion that morning. On the back, neat handwriting turns a simple truth into a threat. Family is everything. Before she can even process it, her phone buzzes with a cold message from Adrian demanding that she bring Ethan back. She is trapped between 2 ruthless men, each pulling her in a different direction, looking at her brother. Mia finally understands. He is no longer just a lost young man. He is a pawn in a deadly war. She grabs his arm and forces him to look at the photo. Protecting him can no longer mean pretending he is harmless. In a surveillance car nearby, a hitman lowers his camera and makes the call. Miles away, Salvatore smiles, pleased that the first crack has opened. He has leaked just enough to make sure Adrian learns about Mia's secret meeting and begins to doubt her. When Mia and Ethan step outside, the world shifts. A large Navy SUV blocks their path. A sharply dressed man steps out, calm and dangerous. the kind of man who does not need to raise his voice. He tells Mia that Salvatore wants to talk. Then he mentions Ethan's paid debt and says the interest is now due. Ethan goes pale. Mia knows exactly what the payment is. The enforcers do not even draw their weapons. They do not have to. Mia understands the checkmate and steps forward, demanding that they let Ethan go. She memorizes the terror on her brother's face before climbing into the dark SUV. The drive ends at an impossibly expensive restaurant. Inside, the dining room is empty except for one table. Salvatore sits there like a king holding court, a glass of wine in his hand. Up close, he does not look like a monster. He looks like a polished, wealthy executive who knows exactly how much power a pleasant smile can hide. Salvatore is a master of quiet pressure. Unlike Vincent, who leads with hostility, Salvatore uses a warm, almost fatherly tone to disarm her. He slides a plate of expensive food toward Mia, offering comfort while casually listing her brother's debts and Emma's exact location. He strips away her illusion of control, telling her plainly that noble heroics do not pay rent. Mia keeps her hands in her lap because she refuses to eat from him. Salvatore notices and smiles. He wants her to trade one cage for another. And he knows desperate people do not need to be dragged. They only need to be offered a door. Salvatore speaks as if he is trying to save her. He tells Mia that Adrian will use her until she is no longer useful, then discard her like every other woman who entered his world. Then his smile fades. He says Adrian's father once promised him half the city, then handed everything to his son and left Salvatore to take the fall for a police raid. Years in exile taught him that loyalty only feeds the powerful. That is what makes him dangerous. Some of what he says sounds true. Mia hates that. He does not need her to believe him completely. He only needs her to doubt Adrian for one moment. Salvatore tightens the trap. He tells her Adrian's wife was not simply selfish. She was bought off, threatened, and sent to Austria when she became inconvenient. Mia has no way to know what part of that is truth and what part is poison. Then comes his real weapon. Money. He slides a folder across the table and makes her look at past due tuition, eviction notices, medical debt, and bills she has barely outrun. Beneath the papers is a deed to a house, clean accounts, a future for Emma. Mia's fingers tremble before she can hide them. Salvatore sees it. He knows exactly where poverty leaves a door unlocked. Salvatore offers the most tempting illusion of all, a fully funded college account for Emma. He frames betrayal not as sin, but as survival. When the Mafia war begins, he warns, Mia will be the first piece of collateral damage. He claims Adrian would trade her life for Luca's without a second thought, because every dawn protects blood before everyone else. It is careful psychological manipulation, aimed straight at a mother's instinct. Mia stares at Emma's name printed on the account papers. For one dangerous second, she sees a house, a clean bed, a future where her daughter never has to count pennies. Salvatore gives Mia his final argument. Survival is the only rule that matters. He says he only needs small pieces of information and swears she will not be hurting Luca. Mia sits frozen, pulled toward the image of a safe life that Adrian's dark world could never offer. Then Salvatore adds the pressure that makes the trap cruel. He gives her time to think, but warns that Adrian's paranoia will not forgive hesitation. If Adrian learns she considered the offer, Salvatore says, she may end up in that basement after all. As Mia leaves, the folder sits in her lap like a loaded weapon. This is the turning point. Mia could end the manipulation with one text to Adrian. She even types the first words. But Salvatore's poison is already working. The thought that Adrian might sacrifice her makes her delete the message before she sends it. She returns to the estate, where the air is thick with violent energy. Guards rush through the halls. Adrian stands at the center of it all, radiating panic and rage. He corners her and demands to know where she was for 43 minutes. His need to know every detail exposes the fear beneath his power. Mia grips the folder hidden under her coat and says nothing. Mia is on the edge of telling him everything, but the hidden folder keeps her silent. Then she breaks. She lashes out at the men in expensive suits who keep deciding the shape of her life. It is not graceful, it is exhausted, angry, and painfully human. Adrian responds with a frightening display of power. He strips away her privacy, reciting the details of her financial ruin. The endless shifts, the eviction threats, the desperation that has kept her alive. He turns surveillance into a weapon. Mia's face burns. She is not ashamed of being poor, but she is furious that he has made her pain sound like evidence. Adrian moves closer, daring her to return to the life she came from. The tension is about to snap when Luca appears in the doorway, clutching his sketchbook like a shield. In an instant, the room changes. The terrifying mafia boss becomes a father who has no idea how to handle his child's pain. Luca's nightmares are only reflecting the violent world Adrian built around him. In a rare soft moment, Adrian steps back and lets the boy take Mia away to show her his drawings. He does not say he is sorry, but the look on his face is close. Mia follows Luca, grateful for a room where no one is pointing a gun or asking for proof. The drawings Luca shows her are heartbreaking. One page shows him and his father before his mother left. The next feels like a warning. His mother is drawn brightly, but her hand is no longer connected to his. It is reaching toward an exit. When Luca asks about his mother's fake smiles, the question cuts deep. He is trying to understand the emotional lies adults built around him. Mia tries to explain that grown-ups sometimes smile to keep children from worrying, but Luca sees through it. He says he still knew she was leaving. Mia has no answer for that. Some wounds are too honest for gentle words. Luca quietly tears through the illusion of his father's invincibility. He tells Mia he hears Adrian pacing at night, afraid that his violent life will get his son killed. Mia promises to protect him, even though promises in this world can cost blood. Then Luca shows her his newest drawing. He has added Mia and Emma to his broken family, because in his words, Mia does not back down from his father. Mia looks at the 4 uneven figures holding hands and feels the hidden folder under her coat like a burn. Adrian thought he had built a fortress. Luca has been living inside it, waiting for someone who would not leave. Far from the alley and the threats, Luca says something painfully honest. He knows his mother ran because she was afraid of the mafia life. But he also understands why his father becomes so dark. Adrian does terrible things because he believes it is the only way to keep his family alive. Hearing this breaks something in the untouchable Don, who has been listening from the doorway. He pulls his son into a desperate hug, and Mia sees the illusion fall apart. She is no longer looking at a ruthless kingpin. She is looking at a father trapped by the very violence he uses for protection. Adrian looks at Mia, and the cold mask he wears begins to fall. She sees past the power and the arrogance to a parent who is as frightened as she is. He makes a quiet confession. In 3 years, Mia is the only person Luca has trusted enough to show his art. Why? Because she did not come looking for money or influence. She could have run, but she stayed. The words land harder than any threat. Adrian picks up his son and tells Mia he has brought Ethan to the estate for safety. In his world, loving anyone puts a target on them. After he leaves, Mia opens Luca's sketchbook to the last page. The drawing shows 4 figures. Adrian, Luca, Mia and Emma. Above them, in a child's uneven handwriting, are the words, "My new family. Please don't leave like Mama did." Mia trembles as she looks from the page to her phone, where Salvatore's number waits. One call could destroy Adrian and secure Emma's future, but the clean escape no longer feels clean. She thinks of Luca's hand in hers. Emma laughing upstairs. Adrian's tired face in the doorway. Unlike Luca's mother, Mia cannot disappear and call it survival. She deletes Salvatore's number. The next morning, the mansion erupts with angry voices. Mia wakes to shouting and slips toward Adrian's office, where a furious woman is screaming that Mia is nobody. Adrian gives a cold warning, but the woman refuses to back down. Mia looks through the door and sees Isabella. Stunning, wealthy, and perfectly dressed, even at 7 in the morning. Isabella slams her hands on the desk, furious that Adrian is bringing a common waitress into his world. She throws their private arrangement in his face. Adrian barely looks up. He tells her, brutally and plainly, that she was company and nothing more. Isabella flinches as if he has slapped her. Adrian gives Isabella the truth. Luca already has a mother figure, and it is not her. Isabella laughs bitterly and mocks Mia as a broke single mother. That is her mistake. Adrian's glare turns lethal, and he warns her that one more word about Mia will be her last. Isabella breaks down, shouting that his affection is a fatal weakness. But beneath the rage is humiliation. She wanted a place in this house and mistook access for belonging. Ordered out, she storms into the hall and catches Mia listening. With a poisonous smile, she whispers that ordinary girls are chewed up in the mafia, Mia stands frozen until Adrian tells her to come in. Mia steps into the office cautiously. Adrian pours coffee as if nothing has happened and dismisses Isabella as a convenient arrangement. He says sentiment is a dangerous luxury. Mia looks at him and wonders how lonely a man must be to say that without irony. Before she can answer, Vincent enters with 3 enforcers. They look at her as though she is a disease in the room. Vincent insists they need to talk, and it is clear he means she is the problem. When Adrian orders Mia to stay, Vincent clenches his jaw. Then he pulls out his phone and says that if she stays, she needs to see the surveillance photos. The photos show Mia getting into a vehicle owned by Salvatore. Her blood runs cold. Adrian remains perfectly still, but the room seems to lose all warmth. He silences her and turns his attention to Vincent. Vincent accuses her of meeting their worst enemy and returning to Playhouse. Another scarred soldier says Salvatore must have offered a deal big enough to buy her loyalty. Trust, already fragile, begins to fracture under paranoia. Every eye turns to Mia. She insists she was forced into the car, but Vincent cuts her off, saying his men watched her get in without a fight. Her voice breaks as she screams the truth. She did not fight because they threatened her brother. They threatened her daughter. Adrian's answer cuts deep. She should have trusted him immediately instead of hiding the meeting. A withheld truth can rot into a lie before anyone means for it to. Adrian paces, demanding to know what Salvatore offered her. Her silence condemns her before she speaks. Vincent reaches for his weapon and asks for 20 minutes to get the truth out of her. Adrian shuts him down. Finally, Mia confesses. Salvatore offered money and security in exchange for Adrian's movements and Luca's location. The room erupts. Adrian steps close and asks what she gave them. Mia holds his gaze and answers nothing. Mia stands firm. She swears she told Salvatore nothing and deleted his number. Vincent scoffs at her, with her debts. Why would she turn down a fortune? Mia's voice hardens, because it was blood money. And because taking it would mean betraying a little boy, who had already been abandoned once. She looks at Adrian and tells him she does not break promises to children. The men around them murmur, still eager to remove her before she becomes a liability. Vincent accuses Adrian of thinking with his heart and brings up Maria's betrayal. Adrian's voice turns deadly as he orders him never to compare those 2 women. In Adrian's world, mercy has limits. The careful father vanishes and the ruthless boss takes his place. He declares that Mia is under his protection and that arguing with him is a death wish. He orders Vincent to track her every move and demands no more secrets. Mia is shaking, barely able to nod as the men leave. Vincent warns that she will be their downfall and that Salvatore is using her exactly as planned. Left alone, Mia leans against the wall. Isabella's warning echoing in her mind. For 3 agonizing days, that dread becomes her new normal. Children laughing upstairs. Guards outside every door, and fear sitting at the table with every meal. Mia clings to Emma and Luca, using their innocence as a shield against the nightmare closing in. Adrian's men follow her everywhere, standing outside doors like grim statues, while Vincent watches her with open suspicion. On the 4th day, her small bubble of safety bursts. Her phone rings. It is her landlord, and the coldness in his voice makes her stomach drop. The Mafia war has reached her real life. He doubles her rent, blaming the shady men seen around her building. Mia tries to explain, but he cuts her off. He does not care why dangerous people are near his property. He only wants them gone. And he wants cash. The landlord demands $2,400 by Friday, cash only, or she will be thrown out. The call ends and Mia stands frozen. She is broke, with no way to get that kind of money. Salvatore's invisible hand is crushing what little independence she has left. Panic sends her straight into Adrian's office, shaking. She says she is done and screams that Salvatore is burning down her life just to get to him. Vincent laughs at her instinct to run, but Mia is not leaving because she is weak. She is leaving because she wants Emma out of the blast radius, before there is nothing left to save. Mia insists that staying puts Emma directly in danger. Adrian steps close and destroys her escape plan with one cold truth. Salvatore will never stop. In this world, people do not simply vanish. The moment Mia runs, she becomes a loose end. He tells her about a man in witness protection, whom Salvatore found in 6 weeks before burning his family alive and throwing him into the harbor. It is brutal, and Adrian knows it. Mia feels sick and accuses him of trying to scare her. He does not deny it. He says fear may be the only thing that keeps her alive long enough to understand the truth. Then Adrian's tone shifts, and the desperate father beneath the mob boss shows through. He admits his empire of blood was built to keep Luca alive. He also admits Salvatore was not born from nowhere. His father betrayed men, made promises, and left debts Adrian is still paying in blood. But Salvatore has chosen to punish children for old wounds. Mia's ordinary life ended the moment Salvatore learned her name. If she runs, she dies. If she stays, Adrian becomes her shield. Mia hates the word territory when he says it. Still, his promise sounds less like ownership now, and more like a man trying to fix damage he inherited too late. Mia refuses to be treated like property, so Adrian answers with power. In a heartbeat, he wipes out her debt, rent, school fees, unpaid bills gone. All he asks in return is that she keep Luca smiling. Adrian admits he is not a good man, but he does not break promises. Mia wants to reject the money on principle, but the thought of Emma's eviction notice stops her cold. Before the deal can settle between them, the doors burst open. Ethan is dragged in by Adrian's men. Shouting about a midnight deadline, the soft father disappears, the predator returns. Ethan is shaking as he thrusts his phone toward Mia. The screen is a nightmare. It shows little Emma in her schoolyard, unaware that she is being watched. Salvatore has sent a message: Mia must surrender by midnight, or her daughter will pay. Mia drops the phone, frozen by panic. The people we love most are always the places where fear reaches deepest. When Vincent reads the threat aloud, the room turns cold. Salvatore thinks he has forced a checkmate, but Adrian looks at Mia, and something dark and decisive shifts in his eyes. He orders the guards tripled and demands that Emma be brought home immediately. Panic tries to swallow Mia whole, but Adrian steps in and steadies her, gripping her shoulders with absolute certainty. Emma is secured by his men, and he is finished waiting for Salvatore to make the next move. He will end the game tonight by giving the snake exactly what he wants. A face-to-face meeting, Mia panics, calling it a death wish, but Adrian calmly takes his weapon and corrects her. It is not suicide, it is war. Vincent warns that it is clearly a trap. Adrian already knows. The difference is that he plans to walk into it with his eyes open, and with every gun he owns pointed at the exit. Mia watches the family estate change from a guarded home into a military fortress. Her attempt to run and protect Emma has only ignited a wider war. When Emma finally arrives in a convoy of armed vehicles, Mia nearly knocks her over with a hug, breathing in the scent of strawberry shampoo. It is a tiny piece of innocence in a house filled with Mafia fear. Seeing the children surrounded by armed men forces Mia to face a hard truth. Safety here will never look normal. Adrian promises Emma is protected, but when Mia tells him the meeting with Salvatore is obviously rigged, he simply agrees. A fake smile can hide fear only for so long. Vincent enters with a tablet in his hands, and the news he brings shatters the fragile peace. Ethan is gone. He slipped out through a bathroom window, after bribing a kitchen runner with the last cash he had, and crawling through an old service passage used by staff. Why would he flee a fortress? Mia knows the answer before anyone says it. Ethan is hollowed out by fear, easy to buy and easier to break. Salvatore knew exactly which wounds to press. When Vincent turns the tablet to show a live stream, Mia feels the old, brutal lesson settle in her chest. The video feed reveals a brutal underworld setup. Ethan is tied to a chair, helpless and shaking a pawn in a much larger game. Salvatore steps into frame with the smooth confidence of a ruthless boss. He speaks to the camera like a polite host, his lethal intent hidden under a calm voice. He pats Ethan's shoulder, and Ethan nearly jumps out of his skin. Then Salvatore lays out the facts. Ethan took the money and thought he could disappear, but in this world every debt gets collected. Tomorrow at noon, Pier 17. Mia must bring Luca alone. Mia's breath catches before the sentence is even finished. Salvatore explains his terms with cruel precision, circling Ethan like a shark. If Mia brings the boy, she gets her family back. If she refuses, the violence reaches into her quiet life, starting with the fake panic at Emma's school. It is psychological warfare, giving her an impossible choice and dressing it up as a simple trade, to prove he is not bluffing. He presses a gun to Ethan's sweating head and pulls the trigger. A hollow click echoes through the room. Empty chamber. Only a rehearsal for tomorrow. Then the feed cuts to black, leaving Adrian's office silent and airless. Adrian recognizes the move instantly. Salvatore wants Mia to sacrifice Luca so he can prove he has broken her spirit. Vincent, cold and practical, sees Ethan as a liability. Handing over a child to save a man who keeps destroying his own life is not mercy, it is suicide. But as Mia falls apart, The painful grip of family becomes impossible to ignore. Ethan may be a disaster, but he is still her brother. When Adrian confirms that a rescue attempt would get Ethan killed at once, the trap closes. Mia is pushed into the worst corner imaginable, forced to choose between the boy who trusts her and the brother who betrayed her. Adrian strips away any illusion of fairness. Handing Luca to Salvatore will not buy Ethan's freedom. It will only guarantee that Ethan dies anyway. The choice is a trap with no clean side, and Mia sinks into a chair under the weight of it. Then a small voice breaks the silence. 9-year-old Luca stands in the doorway, fists clenched, carrying more fear than any child should. He has heard enough, though he is shaking. His voice is steady. He says Miss Mia saved him, and now he can save her family. No one moves. Even Vincent looks away for a second. Hearing Luca say it is his turn to save her family nearly breaks the room. Adrian refuses with a roar that sounds like thunder. But the boy's brave act finally crumbles. Sobbing, Luca admits he is afraid everyone will leave him. Mia stayed when things became dangerous, and he believes he owes her the same loyalty. Mia drops to her knees and wraps him in her arms. She tells him this is her brother's fault, not his. His answer is devastating. If it is his fault, he asks, why are you the one crying? Adrian pulls his son close and swears he will burn the world down before letting Salvatore touch him. When Luca asks what they do now, Adrian looks at Mia, and a silent agreement passes between them. They are finished playing by Salvatore's rules. By 3 a.m, Vincent is laying weapons, maps and phone jammers across a desk. The plan is dangerous, but cleaner than surrender. Mia will be the bait, not Luca. Adrian promises she will not be alone. 15 elite men will surround Pier 17, with snipers on the rooftops and a tracking chip sewn into her coat. She must walk in looking vulnerable. Salvatore needs to believe she betrayed Adrian to save Ethan. Mia asks if he expects her to lie to a mob boss. Adrian answers softly that he expects her to survive. The trap relies on one thing Adrian understands too well, the ego of men like Salvatore. Salvatore will look at Mia and see only a frightened mother, not the survivor standing in front of him. They will use his prejudice against him before they leave. Adrian admits one more truth. His father did betray Salvatore years ago, and Adrian benefited from that betrayal, even if he was too young to choose it. But old sins do not excuse new cruelty. Mia sees the difference in him now. He is no longer pretending the empire is clean. Then they head toward the rotting pier, straight into the belly of the beast. The decaying pier is the perfect stage for Salvatore's crumbling empire. When Mia arrives in the black sedan, her performance works because much of it is real. Her shaking hands, the crack in her voice, the guilt over the child she could not betray, none of it has to be faked. Salvatore stands there in an expensive suit, out of place among the rust and rotting wood, mocking her for failing. He believes he is controlling every string in this grim little theater. Mia keeps her eyes wet and her shoulders small. She lets him see the woman he expected, because that is the only version of her he is arrogant enough to believe. Mia changes the game with quiet precision. After letting Salvatore see the weak victim he expected, she offers him the one thing he truly wants. Greed dressed as justice. She claims she can give him Adrian's hidden safe houses if he proves Ethan is alive and lets Emma go untouched. Salvatore's ego blinds him to the trap forming around him. He believes betrayal always wins because betrayal is what shaped him. That belief is what seals his fate. He steps closer, hungry for information, and Mia can hear Adrian's men shifting through her hidden earpiece. For the first time all day, fear is not the only thing inside her. The illusion of control breaks in a single second. The moment Mia taps her earpiece, the quiet standoff erupts into chaos. Gunfire tears through the air, and Salvatore's polished men are thrown into raw survival. Adrian's team storms the rotting pier, and Salvatore's smug smile disappears. Cornered, he makes the coward's move, and dragging Ethan backward and pressing a gun to his temple. But Ethan is done being only a problem. With his hands still tied, he slams his chair hard into Salvatore's knee, buying one ragged second before the gun rises again. It is not enough to save the day, but it is the first brave thing he has done in years. Salvatore staggers, furious, ranting about lost territory, broken promises, and the throne Adrian's father stole from him. Adrian stands across from him, weapon raised, but cannot fire without hitting Ethan. Then the worst possible twist happens. A side gate bursts open. Luca, who had hidden in the trunk of a backup car after hearing the adults mention Pier 17, bolts onto the battlefield. He is terrified. but he runs because he thinks Mia is about to die for his family again. Salvatore panics and swings the weapon toward the boy. Ethan throws his bound body sideways, knocking Salvatore's aim off. Mia does not think, she moves. The sacrifice happens in less than 2 seconds. Mia takes the bullet meant for Luca, wrapping herself around him like a shield. Adrian fires with cold precision, dropping the man who spent years dressing revenge up as justice. Salvatore falls with his eyes open, unable to grasp why the people he tried to break chose each other instead. Ethan crawls toward Mia, sobbing her name, his own blood on his wrists from fighting the ropes. The cycle of Mafia bloodshed does not end cleanly. It ends with a frightened mother on the ground, a child screaming into her shoulder, and one reckless brother finally understanding what his selfishness almost cost. The madness finally stops, leaving a heavy silence over the docks. Adrian, the most feared mob boss in the city, is shaking as he presses down on Mia's bleeding shoulder. He calls her stupid, brave, impossible, and beneath the anger, his whole worldview is cracking. She kept her promise to Luca, even when it nearly killed her. When Mia opens her eyes again, the bloody pier is gone. She is in the bright warmth of Adrian's mansion, wrapped in bandages and soft blankets, with the Don himself sitting beside her like a guard who has not moved all night. Mia opens her eyes and rasps that Adrian is a terrible bodyguard. His eyes widen, and for 1 second relief floods his frightening face before he pulls the mask back into place. She's been unconscious for 18 hours. The bullet passed clean through without causing permanent damage, but he gently pushes her back down when she tries to sit up. She took a bullet for his heir, and that kind of debt reaches deeper than money. Luca sleeps beside the bed, clutching crayon drawings of Mia flying like a superhero. Then Adrian mentions that Ethan is downstairs, and the room turns cold. Ethan stands in the doorway, shaking with 2 large enforcers behind him. His wrists are bandaged where the ropes cut deep. Seeing his sister pale and wounded breaks whatever pride he has left. He drops to his knees, crying and stumbling through explanations about gambling debts, fear, and every stupid choice that led them to the pier. Then, for once, he stops making excuses. He says he hit Salvatore too late. He says Mia still paid for his mistakes. Adrian cuts through the tears with a voice like ice. 1 brave second does not erase years of selfishness. Ethan nods because, this time, he knows it is true. Adrian's voice drops to a lethal whisper as he declares Mia part of his family. She is under his protection now, to him. Ethan is still a walking disaster, even if he finally did one thing right. He leans close and gives Ethan a promise carved in stone. If he ever sells out his sister again, no one will find his body. Then he gives him 2 choices. He can take a bag and disappear forever, or he can work at one of the warehouses until every penny of his debt is paid. Ethan looks to Mia, silently begging her to decide for him. She does not rescue him this time. Tears are not redemption. Work is. Mia looks at her broken, reckless brother. He is weak, and he has caused terrible harm. But he also tried, in the end, to stop the bullet from finding Luca. That matters, but it does not make him innocent. She tells him to grow a spine and become the man their father believed he could be. No more gambling. No more lies. No more running from the damage he creates. Ethan swears he will stay and work off what he owes. As the enforcers take him away, Mia thanks Adrian for not killing him. Adrian lets the mask fall and admits that watching her get shot shook him in a way nothing else ever has. Mia only smiles. Some families are born. Others are chosen under fire. Mia answers without hesitation. Luca and Emma have become the center of her world. Adrian slowly reaches for her hand and covers it with his own. He asks her to stay, not as hired help and not as a debt to be repaid, but as family, for a man built out of ice. It is the most vulnerable thing he could offer. Mia thinks of her old life, the cramped apartment, the endless work, the constant fear of debt. Now she is sitting in a marble mansion with a mob boss holding her hand, and somehow it feels less frightening than being alone. She whispers yes. Then the doors burst open, and the children rush in, tackling her with joy. The children bounce around the room, proudly holding glitter-covered cards. Emma points to her drawing of 4 stick figures holding hands, and Mia's heart nearly gives out from the sweetness of it. This is not the quiet life she planned, but it is the family she chose. Adrian leans down and presses a gentle kiss to her temple. A quiet welcome home from a man who rarely knows how to be soft. for the first time in a long time. Mia feels she is exactly where she is meant to be. 3 months later, the dust has settled. Ethan is doing the hard work at the docks, staying clean, and slowly earning back one small piece of trust at a time. The hardened enforcers now treat Mia like royalty. She has changed the empire too, challenging Adrian's brutal methods and bringing a human heart into his violent world. In the quiet hours after the children have fallen asleep, Mia and Adrian sit together in his vast office. Some nights they discuss the future of the syndicate and the old debts his father left behind. Other nights they simply share a silence that no longer feels empty. When he asks if she misses being normal, she answers honestly. She misses simple days, but she does not miss being terrified of debt. Her only regret is not walking down that dangerous alley 5 years earlier. Adrian lets out one of his rare, deep laughs and pulls her close. She threw herself in front of a bullet for a ruthless crime lord's child. In return, the deadliest man in the city gave her a home she never expected, and in a world built on fear, they chose loyalty anyway. This story is also a strong lesson about family and responsibility. Mia begins with a small family, herself, her daughter Emma, and her troubled brother Ethan. Adrian Rousseau also has a broken family, centered around his son Luca, who still suffers from his mother's abandonment. Both Mia and Adrian are damaged in different ways, but they are united by one truth: they will do anything to protect their children. The story teaches that family is not only about blood. Ethan is Mia's brother by blood, but his selfish choices place everyone in danger. Luca is not Mia's biological son, yet she protects him with fierce love, even taking a bullet meant for him. This contrast is important. Blood may create connection, but loyalty, sacrifice, and responsibility create true family. Adrian's world is violent and morally complicated, but his love for Luca is real. Mia sees past the Mafia boss and recognizes a frightened father trying to protect his child. At the same time, Adrian sees in Mia something rare, a woman who keeps her promises. She does not abandon Luca when danger comes. She stays, even when staying costs her. The educational lesson here is that love must be proven through action. Promises mean little unless they are followed by sacrifice. Mia's loyalty is not spoken only in words. She demonstrates it with courage. Adrian also learns that protection is not only about power and guns. It is also about trust, stability, and giving children a place where they feel safe. For viewers, this story suggests that real family can be chosen. It can be built from loyalty, forgiveness, and shared responsibility. Mia, Emma, Luca, and Adrian become a family not because life is simple, but because they choose each other in the middle of danger. The final lesson is clear. Family is not defined by who shares your blood, but by who stays, protects, and loves when it matters most.